Autoline Daily is brought to you by Siemens PLM Software, transforming the process of innovation.
Here are today's top headlines. Still no bailout from the White House. Hey, maybe customers will buy cars from a bankrupt automaker, and Hertz will compete with Zipcar. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Wednesday, December 17, 2008, and now the news. Another day and still no bailout. The Bush administration says it's exploring all options and has not made up its mind on what to do about financial aid to GM and Chrysler. Now the word is that it will come on Friday. But meanwhile, the stress is killing domestic automakers and their suppliers and the rest of us who follow this story so closely. More bad news for the Big Three. The Wall Street Journal cites two polls that contradict what the Big Three say about going into bankruptcy, that no one would buy their cars. A survey by Merrill Lynch says 90% of car buyers would buy a car from a company that's bankrupt if it was backed up with government help. C&W Research says 48% would. So why is that bad news for the car companies? Well, here's a rhetorical question. Would GM Chairman Rick Wagner be able to retain that position if he took the company into bankruptcy? I'm sure he does not want to test that issue. In a sign of desperation, Chrysler Financial says it may stop loaning money to dealers for wholesale financing. Chrysler Financial is running out of cash to provide those loans, but of course, it gets cash when dealers sell cars. So if they can't get financing to sell cars, Chrysler Financial can't make money off them. Talk about a catch-22 situation. Dacia is introducing two light commercial vehicle versions of the low-cost Logan. Pricing for this van starts at €6,500, and for our American audience, that's just over $9,000. And the pickup starts just below €7,000. Dacia is the low-cost brand for Renault, and they're obviously expanding the lineup for the Logan. The World Trade Organization denied China's appeal of a ruling that said the country broke agreements imposing tariffs on foreign automotive parts. WardsAuto.com says the tariffs are levied on foreign-owned assembly plants that don't use enough parts manufactured in China. The WTO says if China doesn't stop this, the affected nations can levy duties against Chinese goods. You know, last night Detroit got hit by its first big snowstorm. We got about 4 inches of powder. The roads were a mess this morning, and I'm stuck driving a Mitsubishi Evo from the press fleet. Even with all-wheel drive, I was sliding everywhere because it's got summer tires. But here's one product that could have really helped me out. Auto socks slip over the car's drive wheels and supposedly provide better traction in snow and ice. They were designed in Norway and are made out of a special synthetic fiber. Unlike tire chains, auto socks are easy to install, will not tear up the roads, and they fit in your trunk for easy storage. They're available online and cost between $80 and $100, and man, sure wish I had those things this morning. The Wall Street Journal reports that Hertz is going to compete against Zipcar. Connect by Hertz is what it's called, rents out cars by the hour instead of daily or weekly. Users pay a $50 per year membership fee and can rent the cars for about $10 an hour, including fuel. Connect by Hertz should be available in about 24 locations around the world. Coming up next, it's time for You Said It.
Siemens, transforming the process of innovation.
And now it's time for some of your feedback. This is You Said It. You know, every day we get dozens of comments and questions from you, our viewers. You Said It gives me a chance to respond. Pedro Fernandez writes in to ask, John, in all this bailout talk, all I hear is about UAW givebacks and sacrifices. But what of the honchos on top? Why aren't they offering to cut their huge salaries and bonuses? Well, Pedro, actually they are going to sacrifice. Each of the Big Three CEOs indicated they'll work for $1 a year as long as they're operating with taxpayer money. GM's board of directors would also work for $1 a year. Bob Lutz, Fritz Henderson, Tom Stevens, and Ray Young, all executive vice presidents at GM, would see all of their cash compensation cut by 50%. On top of that, Henderson would cut his salary by 30%, and the other three, by 20%. So the union people are not the only ones making sacrifices, but you raise a good issue. In times of crisis, it's critical for leaders to show equality of sacrifice. That's why there was such a stink raised over the CEOs flying into Washington in their corporate jets. But they obviously learned their lesson and are going to be smarter about this going forward. And Ed Kemmerer writes in to ask, what about the rest of the white-collar salaried workers? I know they pay next to nothing for their health care coverage. Well, Ed, it used to be true. Their copays are a lot higher these days. Also, the salaried workforce makes roughly the same as their counterparts at the transplants, which is not the case for the union workers or top management. Thanks for all your letters, and don't forget that all this week we're running a trivia contest, and all you have to do is get our free email newsletter to be able to sign up for it. I'll be picking the winner on Friday on Autoline Daily, so sign up today. Anyway, that's it for the top news in the global automotive industry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Visit our website for even more great content all week long. Autoline Extra, Dawn's Journal, podcasts, and even more. So click over and get the inside view at AutolineDetroit.tv.